Another social factor that needs careful attention is linguistic imperialism and language rights. As it is defined, linguistic imperialism or linguisticism, as this issue has come to be named, calls attention to the potential consequences of English teaching worldwide when Eurocentric ideologies are embedded in instruction, having the effect of legitimizing colonial or establishment power and resources, and of reconstituting cultural inequalities between English and other languages. So the attracting word here is Eurocentric ideologies that referred to Europe as the active force in history that would continue to set itself up as the center of the world and drew influence on Asia and Africa. This means that you have to leave your native language for the sake of the powerful language or the language of the powerful country. So here we have a central issue in the linguistic imperialism debate is the devaluing of native languages through the colonial spread of English. This is the reason why the Universal Declaration of Linguistic Rights has endorsed the right of all people to develop and promote their own languages and to offer children access to education in their own languages. This is what we have seen with Sir Al-Ghazi in language and policy course. So this problem leads to the possibility to break down barriers of communication with English and the danger of the imperialistic destruction of a global ecology of languages and cultures. So now we move to language policy and the English-only debate. The definition of language policy is the stated position of a government on the official or legal status of a language in a country, often including the role of a language in educational, commercial, and political institutions. This is why we have every country has some explicit official or implicit unofficial policy affecting the status of its native language and one or more foreign languages. And this is what reflects the language of education that involves the decision by some political entity to offer education in a designated language or languages. However, this policy leads to the appearance of some bias all over the world. However, nothing that the United States had never declared English to be official. Proponents of English only bias across many states argued that an official English policy was needed to unify the country and end decades-long debates over bilingual education. However, we do not find that. We have many languages spoken in the United States of America. So we move to language, thought, and culture. In this part, language acquisition, cognitive development, and linguistic development go hand in hand, each interacting with and shaping the other. And here, if you still remember, we have cognitive development, which is a comprehensive theory developed by Piaget, who considered it as a progressive reorganization of mental processes as a result of biological maturation and environmental experience. For this, we get verbal labels that can shape the way we store events for later recall. And we have, for this reason, some symbols and words, phrases, and others. And this is, you can go through this with George Fakov's 2004 in his book Framing. And I can remember an example here. For example, to remember C, so I can go through crescent moon, and then I can remember moon. So if you need more development, you can go through the same reference, page 209. So the way a sentence is structured will affect nuances of meaning. So we'll take an example. When we are watching a film, so the way through which I'm going to discuss that film is different from yours, and so we go. So because meanings are different. On the discourse level of language, we are familiar with the persuasiveness of an emotional speech or a well-written novel will have an influence on culture, which is really an integral part of the interaction between language and thought. Therefore, cultural patterns of cognition and customs are sometimes explicitly coded in language. This is the reason why we have this example of Greek conversation, in which we have a confrontational conversation rather than less frank or more concerned with face saving in the United States of America. The same for lexical items, which may reflect something about the intersection of culture and cognition. However, there are also evidences of misconception about language and cognition. Here are the example of Eskimos that have many different words for snow, which explains why they are able to discriminate types of snow better than English speakers. However, here we have a question: does language reflect a cultural worldview, or does language actually shape the worldview? So the answer may be found in the Worfian hypothesis that states language controls both thought and perception. However, the weaker part of this hypothesis is that it states that language influences thought has been held to be so vague that it is unprovable. And the argument presented here is that the weaker Worfian hypothesis can be quantified and thus evaluated. Models of cognition developed after Worsley indicate ways in which thought can be influenced by cultural variations in the lexical, syntactical, semantic, and pragmatic aspect of language. Although much research remains to be done, there appears to be a great deal of truth to the linguistic relativity hypothesis. In many ways, the language people speak is a guide to the language in which they think. This is why teacher especially has to pay attention. The act of learning to think in another language may require a considerable degree of mastery of that language, but a second language learner does not have to learn to think. The learner's experience facilitates the process of learning by retaining that which is valid and valuable for second cultural learning and second language learning. This is what we have seen with Professor Thomas in Methods and Approaches course. The culture and the language classroom raises a really very important question: is how lessons and activities may be shaped help in learners' motivation. So the language culture connection points towards certain techniques and away from others. Therefore, the teacher has to follow some criteria, and we have 8 criteria that represent various facets. So I have chosen only one. Does the activity value the customs and belief systems that are presumed to be a part of the culture of the students? In the process of of actual teaching in the classroom, it is quite possible that the teacher may be led to modify certain aspects to avoid some stereotypes. And this is very, very important for the teacher if he wants to understand his or her students. Thank you so much.